Hey everybody, it's Daniel here from InfoRest. Hope you're all doing well. We're going to do another segment of the market update, look at what's going on in equities, what changes have we seen, right? So let's start off with the S&P 500, right? We've been seeing S&P 500 since the start of the year, kind of just being range bound here, right? Trading sideways here. We're seeing it pick up a bid right now, right? So when we look into it a little bit deeper, right, we see a lot of resistance at the top of 63.42 area, 63.42, 63.37, right? So if we put just, a line here, let's adjust it a little bit. We tend to see some sort of selling pressure that comes in. Now as I'm looking at this right now and as I'm speaking, we are seeing a retest of this level, which will be interesting to see what happens. We did get a little bit of some selling pressure here on this 1 hour candle, but we're now retesting it. Now, also you could say support level happened to be around here. And just a lot of noise throughout the beginning of the year with the employment numbers that came out, with inflation data coming out. I mean, nothing looking so bad right now. But the biggest thing here, what caused, especially yesterday, right? The stock market shaking out and rumors also after the weekend and also before, is that we're hearing rumors that Powell is close to resigning or Trump is going to fire him, and the stock market didn't like that, right? The stock market didn't like that, and we saw selling pressure on that news, and also the bond market didn't like that as well, right? So that was basically some sort of little sell-off that we got in the equity markets, but we see it being basically shrugged off because we also heard from Trump. He came out and he said that I'm not looking to fire Powell, and there's probably a good reason, because the Fed is supposed to be independent. There's supposed to be Fed independence there. So, I mean, if that is annihilated, then sure, you could see tantrum in the equity markets and the bond markets, maybe short term, but then what would that mean, right? Long term, right? If Trump's and Trump administration is taking over and the government really has control, then that means, it should in theory mean equity and risk assets to move up way higher, since they want lower rates and they want all kinds of money printing and money pumping and so forth, right? So that was pretty interesting to see all that play out. When you look at also the daily, you see that range here, but you see that it looks like it's about to get close to breaking out, and we'll continue to monitor and see, how this plays out. But there's still leg room, right? If you believe in this channel, in this trend that we are in, and you put these resistance and the support lines like this, you're looking at the market saying, hey, it's got much more room to move up higher above current levels. You could see it around 6,700 level, or or closer to the 7,000 level, right? So in terms of price action, it's looking like the dip is being bought, and it's looking like things are continuing to move up higher for the S&P 500. When you look at also positioning, when you look at COT data, we're still seeing that large players are not that aggressively long, which basically, signals and tells you that, there's still room for the S&P 500 to move up higher. In fact, they're actually short, if you look at it. Now, If you look at other equity indices, like for example, NASDAQ, now NASDAQ is approaching this high level, this resistance level that we see here at the top of the range. And also NASDAQ is more favored among the large speculators. So you see more crowdedness in NASDAQ and more long positions from large speculators, and you see NASDAQ just breaking out all-time highs and breaking the previous level, especially after selling off on the Powell fears, right? The Fed chairman fears. And we're seeing it breaking out. So NASDAQ is leading the way, although it is kind of overcrowded there. So it's be very interesting to see how long this plays out. But when you go back again to the S&P 500, you know, there's room for it from a positioning standpoint for it to move up higher, because you still have people who are still short this market, and S&P 500 being the big one, we should expect you know, some sort of influence from this on the equity markets as a whole. When you look at the small cap index, Russell 2000, underperforming, and also in terms of positioning, not very long there, but has picked up from the bottom of this range that it was stuck in for some years. But we haven't seen any all-time high, so you could say that there are some opportunities possibly on Russell 2000. Well, does that mean that we will see it outperform S&P or NASDAQ? I don't know. But definitely from a positioning point of view, there is the people are not that aggressively long and I actually short, which may present some opportunities if you're looking at maybe potential individual stocks. And for the Dow, not much there, just really close to all-time highs, right? And you know, we have yet to see a breakout. Maybe it might come soon. Especially with earnings that are going on and that have started this week, right? Now, talking about earnings, right? We've got some tech names coming out and some big players coming out in about a week or two. We do have Netflix reporting, I believe, after the close, and Netflix and many of the FANG stocks, Google, I believe next week, and then we've got Apple the week after, right? Netflix has been performing quite well, all-time highs as well. It broke just not far back. We did see a pullback, but it'll be interesting to see what comes out from the tech earnings and how that might play out for NASDAQ and the S&P 500, right? Do we start to hear more about CapEx spending continuing, right? More about investing in AI, more about, less about grim future, but more about, you know, the future's looking good and they're cost cutting and, you know, and so forth, right? So does that pull the equity markets higher, S&P and NASDAQ higher, when we get those earnings? That will be interesting to see. Especially Nvidia, right? Nvidia that's been tearing all-time highs and continuing to do so. It'll be very interesting to see if we hear more CapEx spending, more investing in AI. Big companies like Meta and Google and Microsoft and so forth and Apple, right? What are they doing in terms of investing in AI, which would be positive for Nvidia. Now, Nvidia continues to melt up higher also because we got the China news about sales being resumed, right, for chips for from US to China, right? So that is positive for Nvidia and also positive for AMD as well, right? And we're seeing that move up higher. So pretty interesting. We're seeing risk assets continuing to move up. Yes, there might be some pullback, like I talked about in my last market update. Like, you know, there would be some sort of pause or some sort of pullback, which we've been, you know, seeing these past couple days. If you look at it here again, I'll just show you real quick. We've been seeing that and some fear a little bit here, but it does look like it's being short-lived here, and we might see a breakout anytime soon. In terms of other markets, also Bitcoin and crypto, we're seeing that play quite quite a bit as well. Bitcoin sitting at currently 119,000. It did touch around the 123,000. We could possibly see that also play out higher. I'll talk about it more in my private Discord chat room. If you like videos like this or you want your questions answered, we go over more of the markets like the bond markets, currencies, metals, energies, and crypto as well. So until then, good luck everyone, and I'll talk to you guys later. Cheers. Bye.